Hello all, your assignment for today is going to be to complete this table about the probability of outcomes rolling 2 dice. That means I'm looking that you are going to fill in every single number over here and every single number over here. Now this is really pretty easy. It's very much based on the simple probability that we did last week. And all you need to do is going to be to add a bunch of stuff and then create those fractions for our probability. So the way I've set up this table on the left with the two green lines, those are representing the outcomes that can come out of any dice being rolled. So this would be one dice over here, and this would be another dice over here. They can each roll a 1 to a 6, so it's just a standard 6-sided dice. And that means I'm adding up each of those possible things. So if I got a 1 on my first dice and I got a 1 on my second dice, then that means I have a total of 2, and that's why I have a 2 in that first box. So if I got a 2 on the second dice and a 1 on the first dice, then that means I have a possibility of, or a total of 3. And then 3 plus 1 would make that a 4, and so on and so forth. So down the same column, I'm doing the same thing. If I got a 2 on the second dice, paired with a 1 from the first dice, that again gave me a total roll of 3. So really, again, we're just adding the number above it for the first dice and the number on the left for the second dice to find out the total number there. And that's going to give us our total number of possible outcomes. So this table right here is all of the possible outcomes. That's what can possibly happen, the values we can possibly get whenever we roll 2 dice. It's good to note that there are 36 of them because this is a 6 multiplied by a 6. So that does mean there are 36 possible outcomes. That's going to be the total. And that number, again, will be reused for every single one of these because that means there's 36 possible things that can happen. So when it comes to filling out the probabilities of rolling each of these things, what you need to do is count the total number of times that number appears. So I'm going to start by doing 2. How many times is the number 2 going to appear? And then as a fraction, that will be out of my 36 total. So I can see over here that I have only 1 2, and there's only one chance for getting a 2. That's if I roll snake eyes, if I roll a 1 and a 1. So I've got one chance of getting a 2 out of my 36 total outcomes here. So the fraction that we're going to write down there is going to be 1 out of 36. And then the probability that we're going to get as a decimal means that we'd write that as a, we'll actually have to divide that. So if you go over here and write equals 1 divided by 36, then Excel, or rather Sheets, is going to turn that into the decimal result for that. I will give you a copy of the spreadsheet and fill in those values right there, so this should be pretty easy for you to finish. And hopefully what that's going to do is give you an understanding of what number is the most common to show up whenever you roll 2 dice, and what the actual chance of that number is showing up. And that should help any of you who like to play any games that involve rolling 2 dice. That will actually give you the numbers for the chances, unless you know what kind of risks or gambles you may be making.